been a lot of talk about you guys getting promoted a little bit more this year. What kind of factors into that? How much of that's personnel? How much of that is just your stylistic approach to the other team?
Both play a factor. We had some success playing faster last year, and I think that, for me, served as validation as to how I thought I wanted to play if I was fortunate enough to become a head coach. I think it fits our personnel absolutely. We recruited to that a little bit this spring, kept that in mind as we were recruiting and building out a roster. So, yes, both play a factor into that, absolutely.
Along those lines, it's not just about speed, but it's about the free flow and that kind of positionless basketball. That hasn't really been a thing in the Big Ten, but it's March. It's important. So how do you expect to manage going through conference with that style to get to where you want to go?
I think the Big Ten is changing too, with the addition of the West Coast teams, and you see, the way some of the teams have even shifted the way they've played within our league the last couple years. It won't be exclusive to us, but certainly within in the back of our minds of the impact of beyond Big Ten basketball, we want to play a style that can be successful in the league, but also be successful beyond the league. And I believe too, as we continue to recruit, high-level players into our program, you want to play a style that helps them grow and develop and get ready for the next level. All that stuff is connected.
One more. Chris Lover said that you're the best shooter on the team. Fact or fiction?
Fact. Did you want me to think about that a little bit before I answered? Or? I have a reputation to uphold, so that's one of talking a little trash too.
Go on Jim. Question about one of your freshmen, Colin Falls. Let's bring to the table what he wanted to expand on this game.
Yeah, it's been great having Colin in this program. I think I just love how much he cares about Ohio State. And as a starting point, you feel that in practice. He plays hard every day. He's very coachable. There's an element of toughness to him and winning. That his winning in high school has been well documented. But he shot the ball consistently. He takes care of it. He's got to continue to work on the defensive side. I think that's an adjustment for him because in high school he may have had to guard bigger guys, and now in college he's having to guard smaller guys at times. But I've been really impressed with his, summer and start to the preseason here this fall.
Jay, you kind of had to hit the ground running. Took over last year, but as you prepare for your first full season, are there still things that you're realizing, like, oh yeah, I have to do that now, or still stuff you're learning in this job?
I think there's some on-the-job training that takes place and probably will continue to take place, especially as the landscape continues to change. Thankfully for me, I got a great staff who can help me navigate some of that stuff, and for me, it's always been about making sure I delegate some things so I can continue to focus on our players. It's not to say I am removing myself from other responsibilities, because I certainly comes with the job, but regardless of some of that, I want to make sure that it's not taken away from, me being able to connect and pour into our guys. But yeah, learning stuff as it goes to some degree, but having a guy like Dave Dickerson, who's been a head coach, or Jamal Walker, who's been college basketball for a long time, Joel Justice, those guys help that. David Egelhoff, who's been at Ohio State for a long time, those guys help me navigate some of that stuff.
And I'm told it's defensive boot camp this week. What does that entail, and how does that eventually lead to you building the identity you want to build when you take the court in about a month?
It is defensive boot camp, and practice plan has been bent heavily towards the defensive side of the ball. For us, this week, it felt like, as we start getting into game prep over the next couple weeks, we have to solidify our defensive foundation. Our defense can help our offense, so we needed to just shore up some things and spend a little bit more time and focus. We spent a lot of time this summer building our offense while, alongside that, setting kind of our foundation defensively. But now, as we're getting ready to see different actions and specific things, we have to start, preparing for that.
Coach, going back to your style of play, John Rossi compared you guys to Alabama the other day. Obviously, coaches feel like punish guys in practice for
taking certain shots. Has there been any sort of like, hey, don't take that shot, we need to get better look than that in practice?
I think for me, it's a balance. I want our guys playing with great freedom, being aggressive and confident. We have talented players. I think, as a coach, you have to create space for their talent to just shine through. However, we know efficiency matters. We know that we need to continue to improve, and probably maybe improve is the wrong word, but just evaluate what helps us be more efficient offensively. So some of that is going to be trial and error, I guess, and then using film to evaluate. One of the biggest things for us is, I think making sure we're not too heavily reliant upon jump shots prior to touching the paint, and the difference between a jump shot after the ball touches the paint versus before it touches the paint. So we had a little discussion, film session about that a couple days ago, and to our guys' credit, they responded really well. We had some great offensive possessions that next practice. So I think there's a willingness to grow and to understand what a good shot means for our offense. And, we'll continue though to be aggressive. We don't want to take away from the pace we're playing at, but we talk about playing with pace and poise. We have to be poised while we're playing with that pace. And we're still learning that. Some of that is the fact we have so many new coaches, new players, new system. That's going to take some time. I think that's not something you can just like day one have set. So we're working on that though and mindful of that.
Yeah, so you had two bigs in lead, but then you brought two more bigs in. How can those guys, you said you recruited them with a purpose and bring them up, how can those guys complement that open style and that excel?
Yeah, well, I think we have a great combination of athleticism and skill in our front court. Our biggest issue that we have to answer in the front court is our lack of experience. We're talented, we're versatile. Like we have multiple guys who can play different positions. We could play lineups with great size, but the inexperience is something we got to answer. And the encouraging thing for me is I believe it gives us it makes us unique from the standpoint that there's an aspect of growth that should occur with our team as the season goes on. So as those guys continue to get more experience and reps and consistency, our team should grow, our ceiling should raise as a group, and that's exciting for me. And I think we're starting to see already, certain guys are improving their consistency. But, we have multiple guys with size that can step out and shoot it, can guard multiple positions, and it's exciting for a coach to give some opportunity for some creativity. Yeah.
Jeff, you were just sort of speaking to this a little bit. I'm asking about depth and how you feel about depth going into this season. And as you recruit, you talk about roster construction, you got all these roles you need guys to do, and you mix and match and all that. Do you feel more depth this year at all, or is that wait to be seen?
I think depth is a strength for this group. I think we have a deep team. It's going to certainly present some challenges as far as finalizing a rotation. But the one thing that, we do have is some healthy competition. And that'll be valuable for us. There will be a time here soon where we're going to have to define roles more specifically. Right now, we're giving guys an opportunity to grow and to some degree fail a little bit, figure out what fits them right now. I want to continue. I want this to be a program built on development, certainly where guys can continue to grow their game, but sometimes that might not be the case in game. Maybe something we're working on outside of it till it gets ready, to be used in a game. But depth is a real strength for this team, and again, it provides us with a great deal of versatility. We can play a lot of different types of lineups, whether it's size, speed, interchangeable parts, and that's valuable for us.
You feel like you got to have a starting five no matter what, or could that change?
I would say right now today, based on what I've seen in practice, we have a starting 7 or 8. And I know at some point we're gonna have to pick 5 guys to get their name called, but I think for us we have multiple guys who certainly could start and be successful as starters. And the biggest challenge for me is figuring out probably how we're going to end games, because we know in this league, it's the deepest league in the country, and you're going to have to be really good late. And so figuring out how we can put our best group there, and it may be different from game to game, certainly, but starting the game, we have multiple guys I'd feel comfortable starting a game, and it speaks to our depth. We got to figure out how we're going to close out games too, and that's something we're working on daily and evaluating.
One of the questions I get talking to people a lot is like, why is this team going to be better than the last couple of years? A young head coach, new faces. So, from what you've seen, where are the steps coming?
Well, I believe having really good old guards has proven to be helpful in college basketball, and we have a lot of those, if I could say. So that gives you some comfort, as a coach. I think I'm really excited about our front court, but we have to answer the call from a lack of consistent experience standpoint, which I'm confident we will. But I think depth for us is certainly a strength. I think hasn't always been the case, the last few years. But moving forward, we want to make sure that we can, have healthy competition in practice. It's only going to help everybody get better. But yeah, there's a sense of comfort having Bruce Thornton, Michi Johnson, Micah Parrish, and Quez Glover, who I couldn't even tell you how many combined college basketball games those guys have played and won. I think is the other part. So that helps me sleep maybe just a little bit better at night.
A lot of you guys are talking about off-court chemistry, truths, hanging out with each other, stuff like that. From your experience, how much of a difference does that make once you really take the court?
I'm a big believer that it matters significantly. And in an attempt to speed up in the on-court chemistry that you need to be successful in college basketball, first mastering that off-the-court side is important. We're intentional about, who we invite into our family, and there's been a natural kind of organic chemistry formed. We've certainly been intentional about creating space and opportunity and activity for that to exist. But our guys have taken ownership of that too, and have been intentional about spending time together outside of the gym. I think, and it seemed, at least from my perspective, really natural, which gives us a chance to have great chemistry. I think you have to have that chemistry on the court. That's my personal belief. I wish we had, more time to get ready for our first game for that on-court chemistry. And that's not to say that I've been disappointed, or I think our on-court chemistry, all things considered, how many new pieces, new staff, new system, has been pretty good. So especially when you have some older guys coming together, and there's an adjustment that has to take place from each individual to build that on-court chemistry. And our guys have embraced that and have been really good with it so far. So I don't anticipate it being an issue at all. I just wish we had more time, because that's only going to get better as time goes on and we get more experience together.
Do you mind talking about the process of getting Valpo on the schedule this summer when we were putting the schedule together, and how meaningful that's going to be for you to have those two programs that I'm assuming are both very important to you playing here in December?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. Roger Powell's a friend, a close friend of mine, and I don't think I immediately went into the offseason saying we got to get Valpo on the schedule. I think it happened organically. He was looking for games, we were looking for games, and it was like, hey, let's see if the dates make sense. It wasn't one of our first games we locked in. And when you start to get down to the end of putting a schedule together, dates become so important. And so it aligned that we were able to do this. But I am excited about I hope they win every game but one, next year. And I think Roger's going to do a really good job. I think he's got some good pieces coming back. And, I follow that program closely for the obvious reasons. But, it'll be a weird feeling probably before the game. And then once that ball's thrown up, be back to normal.
Jay, your own shooting prowess aside, we had an open practice couple weeks back, and you personally were going hard in the practice. Were you just doing that because the cameras were in there, or is that an everyday type of thing?
You want to ask Bruce over there? If, no.
Yeah.
I think as we're trying to establish a pace, an intensity, a passion, a work, and energy, I think it's the leader's responsible to, demonstrate that on a daily basis. I have to be consistent with that. Some of it is too, my coaching style is all about relationships. And when I went through that process last year, it was almost like again, another form of validation. I always thought, man, if I become a head coach, like relationships are going to be so important. Well, I think part of the reason we were able to finish the way we did was because of the relationships that I had with guys. So I didn't want, because I became a head coach, I didn't want to just change up who I was. And for me, it's being hands-on in practice. It's, bringing great energy. It's all of those things you saw. It's kind of who I am. And I've spoken publicly about this. Some of the best advice I got when I became a head coach was be yourself. And so I've really tried to stay true to that. And yeah, if you come to practice tomorrow, you'll see kind of the same stuff.
Well, it seemed like guys noticed that, and I didn't know if you had a coach, whether it was your dad or somebody that you looked up to in the past that was more of a get out there and practice with the guys. It seems like there's just a natural respect level that heightens when that goes on.
Well, I can't get out and fully practice anymore. I am sticking to half court and really not so much live play like I used to. I like this idea that I'm a good player and keeping that kind of in their minds. I don't want to go prove them wrong. So we try to set a little bit of boundary as to just how far we go in practice. But I think as far as drills go and being able to, be in there with them, and I think they know that's who I am. I think they know that the guys who have been here know that's how I was, before, and I hope I can keep that up for as long as I'm a head coach. My dad certainly showed me at a young age the value of passion, energy, and building relationships with guys. I mean, my dad's still close with guys he coached back around the time I was born. So I hope to have those same type of relationships long after, our guys leave this program, hopefully have long professional careers that, they'll remember those moments we had together, so that relationship is really strong.
Yeah, you mentioned that you like having old guards. Another old guard is Wes Glover. I guess what kind of impact can he make someone who's been through a lot of injury adversity and stuff like that, from a leadership standpoint?
Yeah, Quez has a unique perspective because he's overcome some things in his career, and he's done it in a way that, he's proven to score. He's been in big games and close games and situational basketball that for us is going to come up regularly. So we'll lean on his experience, and I think his perspective is valuable for us, not just young guys, but even old guys, because he's been through some tough times. And he deserves a lot of credit because he's come in and just fully embraced everything we've been about, and has been great. His voice, when he uses it, has been really powerful. I think he's going to be really impactful for us.
Yeah, and then kind of on the other side of career with Ivonn, what role do you see Ivonn playing in the international space?
Yeah, I love Ivonn's skill. Obviously, as you guys see, he's big, and his size is legit. And I think as he's adjusting more and more to the pace we're playing at, which has been different for him, but he's picking it up. I think we're going to continue to see his opportunity grow. But my biggest thing for Ivonn is his best basketball is ahead of him. So we just got to keep building. But I love his skill set. He could step out, shoot threes. He passes well. He's getting more mobile. He's really bought into our strength and conditioning program, which in time is going to serve him really well, right? There's really no quick fix for that, but he's embracing the work required. So I'm excited about him. I'm happy he's here. He chose to come here, and I think he's got a real bright future.
To that point of one each, and Joe, Sam, Coach.
If that schedule's come out, just curious what you think of it. Obviously, a little different this year with the expanded offense.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, how the league shakes out at the end of the season. And I say that from a standpoint of like NCAA tournament teams and things. I would assume we should have a record number of teams in the NCAA tournament with the depth of this league. And so I'm really excited about, the requirement to bring your best every single game in this league. And that's only been enhanced with the teams we added. It's kind of been that way in the Big Ten, but now even more so. And you got to make every game count because we're only getting to play 3 teams twice. So I think that's an important part of it too. But really excited, looking forward to going out to LA, and that'll certainly be a really challenging trip towards the end of the season. I think we end 3 out of our last 4 games on the road, 4 out of 5 on the road. So there's some challenges ahead certainly, but our biggest thing is going to have to be able to focus one game at a time, and sometimes it's going to mean moving on, really win or lose, moving on really quickly because you got to get to the next one and get as prepared as best you can for the next one. So it's Big Ten basketball is a gauntlet. Gauntlet's gotten harder with the addition of the 4 teams. Really excited about the league, and I think what this league is going to be able to do in the postseason.
Coach, what have you seen by the combination of Bruce and Meikle this offseason, not only from what they've been able to do carry on the offensive end, but also how they competed against each other on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, the exciting thing about Bruce and Meikle is they're both two-way players, and they take pride in both sides of the ball. The other thing I've been just really encouraged about is the natural chemistry they have on the court. Both of those guys are gifted scorers, but they're also playmakers. And I think maybe more so than Bruce is used to, he now someone can create an easier shot for him at times, which will be helpful. And both of those guys know that, for us to be the level of team we want to be, that they got to both raise their efficiency in a couple areas. And to their credit, they've done that so far this fall. We chart everything we do 5-on-5, and both of those guys have had really good numbers. And they're going against, each other a lot. Sometimes we're certainly putting them on situations where they have to play together. And when they have, the natural chemistry those two have has been really impressive.
A lot of your players talked about how you tried to create a family atmosphere here, and I feel like this team has gotten much closer together than it was a year ago. What do you feel like you've been able to do to kind of foster that type of atmosphere and bring the team together?
I just believe that Ohio State basketball as a whole is a big family. And we're reminded of that with the different events that we do throughout the year, having vet camp in the summer. We had, I think, basically all but one current NBA player in town. We had a bunch of former players who have since retired from playing. We had overseas guys here. So that's a great example. The former players dinner, that we host. That was, I think, 3 weeks ago, maybe 3-4 weeks ago. I mean, we had on stage Jerry Lucas, Jimmy Jackson, Michael Redd, and Jared Sullinger. And they got to talk to the room about what makes Ohio State basketball special, what was special about their championship teams. Our guys got to hear that, but it also, was an example of just how connected this family is, because you had former players flying from all over the country to be here for that. So that being the foundation and building upon that of certainly bringing this group together, helping them understand that they are a part of something bigger than themselves, I have a great deal of passion about that. And at minimum, our guys, when they leave this program, will feel that and know that they're a part of something special, because I just don't see that existing, at most places across the country. And then in addition to that, these guys know that my wife and I and our family consider them family. And there's a time commitment from our standpoint to them for that to be real. And I think more importantly, they know, like most family members or parents would, I'm committed to doing everything I can to help them grow as men. Certainly as players, but as men too. And as long as they know that, I feel like we got a chance to really do something special.
We'll finish up with that.
Jake, was the plan coming into the preseason to be this week all about defense, or is that something that you felt like the way the preseason was going, you needed to emphasize?
Felt like we needed to emphasize it a little bit more. We needed more time. The way we practice and the pace we practice at, like, we get a lot accomplished in a short amount of time, but we have to continue to build, and now it's starting to get into more specifics, and for that reason we had to dedicate more time than usual on the defensive side, because again, I believe it's all connected. Our defense, the aggressiveness on defense will help us on the offensive side, and we wanted to lean into that. We can go a couple more too. I know a couple people didn't get to go, so if you want to.
You mentioned like Ivonn being able to benefit from strength and conditioning. A guy like Aaron, who is 7'1", 215, is going to be playing against guys in the Big Ten. What are you seeing from him from a physicality standpoint? Are you confident he's big enough, strong enough that he can handle that 20-game Big Ten schedule?
Well, I think on most days, especially recently, he's north of 215, so that's been encouraging. Yeah, there's certainly a physical element to our schedule, not just in the Big Ten, but the non-conference schedule that we play. And for him, he may not just be guarding centers either, with his versatility and some of the different lineups we can put out there. But he plays stronger than maybe one might assume. There's a toughness to him. He plays with a great motor, and so I think those things may bridge that gap or that's implied. But I haven't noticed, a big like a deficiency in any regard to that, because we do have, like, Austin is a big physical guy. Ivonn's big and it's got some physicality. Devin Royal's it's not like he's not going up against physical players every day, and there hasn't been, especially in the last couple months, it was an adjustment for him in the summer, but I've been impressed with how he's adjusted.
He said he left, he wasn't loving basketball or really not growing up. I know you talked about what he is on the court, see the numbers, but just in terms of the guy and his love for the game, how much have you seen a difference?
One of the values of this program is joy, and I think Meikle is a living example of that every day. He comes into the gym with great energy, plays with a smile on his face. A lot of times it's not void of competitiveness, but you can tell he enjoys being in the gym. And you can also tell that basketball, and Ohio State for that matter, mean a great deal to him. And so it saddens me to hear that's how he felt, at that point. But I think at some point we've all, gone. I probably wasn't void of that feeling at times my freshman year when I wasn't playing very much. But he's been he's been an example for us, really, in that joy value we have as part of our program. So I think people will see that too. He plays with passion. He plays with energy. He practices that way. So it'll probably be even elevated a little bit more when the lights come on.
Talking about the depth that you have, is there a number that you'd like to rotationally, you want to keep it to, big or small, or is that all dictated by how many guys step up and be comfortable putting on the floor?
Yeah, we're working through that right now, but it's going to be certainly at the beginning of the season. It'll be a longer rotation. I think to start, it could be around 10. I think as of right now, we're looking at 10. Maybe there's games where it's 11. But it won't be 7 or 8. To start the season. And I think some of that has to do with the way we play too. But yeah, that's being evaluated, and that's going to continue to be evaluated, and it will probably be evaluated throughout the first few weeks of the season too.
I want to follow up on something Devin mentioned, and
I know expanding his shooting range was a big part of the development plan for him this offseason. You mentioned that he was up close to 40% practice shooting threes. What do you see from him in that area? And I guess how big a part of the plan is it for him to help space the floor?
Yeah, I think for his future and for our team, him being able to space the floor will be important. And when I talked to Devin in the spring about, him growing as a player, it was certainly adding elements to his game, but not forgetting what makes him really good. And I think that's the challenge anytime guys are working on growing their game, is a lot of times it'll be at the expense of the things that make them good. So there was a time period this summer where almost like he had forgotten about some of that stuff, and we had a conversation, okay, keep growing in these areas, but also be a great offensive rebounder, cutter, finisher, driver, all of those things that really made him a versatile player to begin with. So he's shown some strides. He's got to continue to grow and improve. He needs reps, so as do a few of our guys, and they have that opportunity right now. I think that's the important thing about these last couple weeks is it's kind of equal opportunity right now. We're evaluating, collecting data, and then we'll get into role definition, here in the next couple weeks.
Then you mentioned that value of joy in your program. It seems like a lot of the guys in that front court have very lighthearted personalities. Aaron described himself as goofy earlier in the year, of course. Devin was talking about how he's always smiling. He and Ivonn were joking around today at media day. I guess from those forwards, what do you see? Do you see their personalities in that way?
Yeah, I think we're seeing that throughout our program. I think some of those guys are just a little more outgoing than others, and so far they've done a great job balancing. It's a fine line, right, of having the maturity and the competitiveness and the fight and the toughness and the seriousness and the focus, but also enjoying the game, playing with passion and energy and positivity. So our team in general really has done a great job, in that kind of balancing those things. But yeah, some of those guys are a little bit bigger personalities than others, I would certainly say.
Last question, Steve. We've had a few recruiting visit weekends here, September and into October. Just what are you trying to impart to kids and their families about what the program is going to be like with you in charge, and how are you being received in those regards? I know you've got a couple commitments, and can't talk about anybody in particular, but you've got a signing day that's coming up in about a month. It's going to be pretty important. Just that whole realm, just what's happening in that regard.
Trying to get me to say something specific, Steve?
Oh, I don't know. You got 5 stars coming, I don't know.
Listen, I think recruiting's obviously a really, really important, arguably the most important part of the program. What we've discovered, we've tried to get guys on campus to see us practice. And I think seeing us practice is a tangible example of certainly how we want to play. No, we're not a finished product by any means right now, but how we want to play, seeing the way I coach, because there isn't a lot of data out there for them to see. And, we've gotten great feedback really from whether it's recruits, coaches, guests, gotten great feedback from people who have seen us practice, and I think that's an important part for us, getting people to see. And then for me, it's very easy for me to talk about Ohio State, and I think that's something that people are realizing too, just how much I care about this place, how much I believe in this place, and believe in the impact it can have for the young men on our team for long, certainly while they're here, but long after that. And I genuinely believe that. So when I get an opportunity to talk about that, I try to seize that moment, and we'll continue to do so because this place is special. It's elite in so many areas. And we got to just continue to get that message out there. But also, most importantly, make sure the guys in our program right now are getting to experience that too. So we'll continue to do that.
Coach, thank you.
All right, thanks guys. Have a good one.
Go ahead.